I never thought silence could hurt more than words. It was 2:14 a.m. when I zipped my suitcase shut with trembling hands. I was crying, but not the loud, wailing kind. This was quieter, deeper, the kind of crying that comes when your soul shatters and your body just follows. The man I was supposed to marry in 5 days had called me 2 hours ago, laughing, drunk, saying stupid things about how wild his night had been, how it was all just for fun. I'd already seen the messages by then, heard the voicemails. I wasn't stupid, just heartbroken. 4 women, 4 strangers, 1 single night. He said it didn't mean anything. That's what hurt the most. I didn't argue. I didn't scream. I didn't even tell him I knew everything. I just vanished. Left him with silence. A silence loud enough to become a scream. And I thought that would be the end of it. But it wasn't. Because what happened next didn't just break him. It obliterated the perfect life he thought he'd built. And I never had to raise my voice. I met Nick on a Tuesday. Not the kind of romantic movie scene Tuesday where time slows down and the music swells. No, it was raining. I was late for work. My umbrella flipped inside out, and I almost got hit by a cab. He caught me, literally, when I nearly tripped on the sidewalk. I looked up, soaking wet, completely flustered, and he just laughed. "Rough morning?" he said, grinning. His smile was easy, disarming, dangerous in a quiet way. We grabbed coffee within the hour. I never made it to work that day. From the beginning, Nick felt like a movie I didn't want to end. He listened. He cooked. He remembered the names of people I mentioned once in passing, gave long hugs, made midnight pancakes. And when he asked me to move in with him a year later, I didn't hesitate. Our life felt perfect, cozy. We had Sunday rituals, coffee runs, farmers markets, lazy mornings spent doing nothing but everything. He wasn't just my partner, he was my person. Our friends used to call us disgustingly good together. At my bridal shower, someone even joked that we were the kind of couple that made them believe in love again. But even then, when the photos were picture perfect and the future looked wrapped in a soft golden glow, I remember tiny sparks of unease, fleeting but hard to ignore. Sometimes he'd laugh at things that slightly stung, like when I tried to tell him about a bad day at work and he smirked. "Babe, not everything is a crisis." It felt small, like background noise at the time, but those moments linger. Then there were his friends, rowdy, loud, always talking over each other. Inside jokes that didn't feel like they were meant for me. They'd make crude comments when I'd walk by in a swimsuit. Said I should be grateful. Nick chose someone like me. Nick dismissed it as just how guys are. Still, his arms felt safe. He kissed my forehead every night. Told me I was beautiful even when I cried. When he proposed in the garden behind my childhood home, holding a ring I'd secretly bookmarked on Instagram 2 years earlier, I thought, this is it. I thought he knew me. I thought he saw me. We started planning everything. Venue, colors, our vows. He wanted a wild Vegas-style bachelor party. I wanted something quieter. "It's the last night of freedom," he'd laugh. "Just dumb tradition, babe. Nothing serious." I hated that term, last night of freedom. But I buried that feeling, because after all, he was Nick, the guy who caught me in the rain, the man who made me feel like maybe life didn't always have to be heavy. And maybe I got too comfortable in the warmth he created, too distracted by the dream to see the cracks forming behind it. Or maybe I just didn't want to look too closely. Not yet. It didn't fall apart all at once. That's the thing people get wrong. It wasn't some blazing explosion where everything caught fire overnight. No. It was a slow leak, barely audible, but always there. The first sign was small, forgettable even. We were finalizing the guest list one night, sitting on our living room floor, surrounded by sticky notes and empty wine glasses. I asked if we should invite his coworker Jason and his wife. He shrugged and mumbled, "We'll see," without looking up from his phone. I laughed it off, gently nudging him. "You glued to something more exciting than picking who's watching us say I do?" He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes, locked his phone, changed the subject. The next night, I saw his phone light up again, just for a second, a message from someone saved as D. He tilted the screen away quickly. I didn't ask, which, weirdly, hurt more than if I had, because I didn't want the answer. As the weeks passed, more things started to feel off. He came home late from work more often, started showering before greeting me, which he never used to do. Said he was just tired all the time, but still found the energy to post laughing selfies with his friends when they went out. He became more possessive of his phone, took it with him to the bathroom, slept with it under his pillow. I even joked once, "Should I be jealous of Siri?" He laughed, but it sounded cautious. There was a night near the end when I sat on our bed watching him scroll, and I whispered, "Is there anything you're not telling me?" He didn't even look up as he said, "Nope. Why? Don't start getting weird." So I told myself, I was being weird. Maybe I was just stressed by wedding planning. Maybe I was overanalyzing, getting paranoid from stories I'd seen online. But deep down, my heart was starting to whisper things I didn't want to hear. His friends didn't help. They always acted like frat boys who never grew up. At his bachelor party planning dinner, one of them loudly joked, "Hope Nick survives the weekend without making a baby." Everyone laughed. I didn't. When I confronted Nick afterward, he rolled his eyes. "They're just kidding. It's tradition," he said, pulling me in by the waist. "You seriously think I'd do anything to screw this up?" I wanted to believe him. I wanted to believe in the version of him I'd known since that rainy Tuesday. So I nodded, let him kiss my forehead, told him I trusted him. But when he turned away, something in my chest stayed cold, still, quiet in a way that hurt. I didn't know what was coming, but I was starting to feel it, like standing on the shore as the tide pulls back, so slowly you almost miss it, right before the wave hits. I didn't find out all at once. It started with one message, an Instagram DM from a woman I didn't know, at 1:03 a.m. The profile was private, no picture. The message just said, "You deserve to know what your fiancé did tonight." I froze. At first, I thought it was a scam or some sick prank. My heart sped up, but I didn't respond. I stared at the screen for a ridiculous amount of time before curiosity won. I typed, "What are you talking about?" She replied almost instantly. A video. Taken from behind. Blurry, shaky, likely in a club. But I'd know Nick's laugh anywhere. His voice slurred in the background, followed by distinct cheering. Then I saw him, hands around a woman's waist, kissing her. Full-on sloppy drunken kisses while his friends egged him on. My stomach dropped. I sat up in bed, suddenly cold all over. I messaged, "Who are you?" And the woman sent 4 words. "I'm one of them." Her name was Belle, and she wasn't the only one. Over the next 2 hours, I received 3 more messages. 3 different women. None of them seemed to know each other. Each had their own version of what happened that night. Different bars, different times, different moments when he invited them in. He hadn't made a mistake, not a single drunken moment, not one lapse of judgment. This was an itinerary, a sick, impulsive, back-to-back celebration of a man saying goodbye to morals he apparently never had. As if his last few hours of being unmarried gave him a permission slip to be a monster. One girl said his friend paid her to give Nick a private show in their hotel room. Another made a video of Nick saying, "Don't tell my fiancé, she's too sweet to lose over nothing." Over. Nothing. I couldn't breathe. My chest physically ached. It was a full-body nausea. My hands were shaking so hard, I dropped my phone. A few minutes later, like fate wanted to slap me harder, Nick called. Laughing. He was bragging. I didn't answer, but my voicemail caught it. His voice was drunk, filled with crooked joy. "Babe," he slurred. "It was wild, but don't worry. Just boy stuff. You'll never even know. Can't wait to marry you." Followed by a laugh I'd once loved and now couldn't even recognize. That was the crack that finally caved the world in. He didn't know I already knew everything. He didn't know I was sitting on our bed, in the home we built, listening to the voice of the man who just betrayed me in 4 unimaginably cruel ways, while calling it love. And I didn't scream. I didn't cry. Not yet. I just sat in that stillness. That wide, deafening silence where heartbreak and rage meet for the first time. Because in that moment, I knew exactly what I was going to do next, and it wouldn't look anything like forgiveness. I didn't sleep that night. Not because I was too emotional, but because I felt nothing. It was the kind of numbness that creeps in when your heart's been completely overridden by your brain, like your soul goes on autopilot just to keep you from falling apart. I packed in slow motion. Somehow my body knew what to do before I did. I folded our wedding invitations and slid them into a drawer, took only what I needed, left the framed photos on the wall, didn't even bother taking off my engagement ring, until I dropped it in the kitchen sink like it was trash. There was no goodbye note, no storming out, no scene, just silence, and that's what made it so loud. By the time the sun came up, I was gone. No text, no explanation, just missing. It didn't take long for him to notice. I ignored the first 6 calls, then the messages started coming in. "Where are you?" "Babe, this isn't funny. You're freaking me out. Please call me." I turned off my phone. That's when he contacted my mom, then my best friend, then even my ex. How he found his number, I still don't know. Nick spiraled, but it was like watching a movie in another language. I wasn't there anymore. 1 day passed, then 2. The wedding was supposed to be in 4. He canceled the venue. Publicly said I had gotten cold feet. There was a Facebook message he posted, some sad, heartbreak bait caption beneath a photo of us laughing on a beach. She disappeared before our wedding. I don't know where she went. I don't know why. I just want her to come home. Over 300 comments flooded the post. People called me cruel, cowardly, damaged. I read every comment like it didn't belong to me, like they weren't talking about my life. And Nick kept calling, even left a voicemail 2 days before the would-be wedding. I messed up. Just talk to me. Please, I can fix it. I'll do anything. But you can't fix something that started with a lie. Even when I replayed the voicemails from the women, even when I watched the videos they sent full of his drunk smiling face and slurred confessions, some part of me still wanted to be wrong. That's the most painful part of betrayal. It doesn't just break your heart, it makes you question your ability to trust it ever again. I didn't want revenge. I didn't want sympathy. I wanted space. To breathe, to disappear, to figure out what was left of me after his wildfire ran through my life. I moved in with a friend 3 hours away, changed my number, quit my job, started seeing a therapist. My world shrank so I could begin to rebuild it. Meanwhile, his world started unraveling, bit by bit. That man who once called himself untouchable was about to learn that silence isn't just absence, it's a weapon. And when he finally found out the truth about what I knew when I knew it and what I did with it, he'd wish I'd only left, because what came next ruined everything he tried to protect. Everyone thought I vanished out of heartbreak, but really, I vanished to watch. You see, right after I left Nick, I didn't just run away to heal. I started collecting things, quietly, carefully, screenshots, DMs, voicemails, Time-stamped photos, names, faces, testimonies. Belle, the first woman who messaged me, agreed to talk. So did two of the others. Slowly, I pieced together the real bachelor party story, not the sanitized version Nick's friends were posting all over social media. Bachelor party? Try a weekend-long bender across state lines, different hotels, paid escorts, loud bragging to bar staff. At least 3 venues confirmed they were nearly kicked out for harassing other patrons. One of the women he slept with didn't even know he was engaged until after. That's where the twist sharpens. Because what Nick didn't know is that one of those women. She was documenting everything for her own TikTok series, Bachelor Party Confessions. It was one of those young, blunt, brutally honest creators. She never said Nick's name, but her captions said enough. The story blew up. 420,000 views. Then 1 million. People online started putting puzzle pieces together. Viewers matched tattoos, location tags, blurred images in the background. Some even found our engagement photos through tagged posts from mutual friends still following both of us. You know how fast the internet moves when it's angry. Nick thought I'd just ghosted him, but suddenly his inbox was full of strangers asking how it felt to be bachelor party guy. His company caught wind. They had a strict moral conduct clause, especially when representing them on corporate retreats or social mixers. And remember, some of that weekend happened while he was technically there for a team-building weekend. Dumb move. HR launched a formal inquiry. Meanwhile, I sat in my cozy little borrowed apartment, drinking coffee, opening anonymous accounts under burner emails, just watching. I never posted anything. I never had to. I just gently guided the truth into the right hands and let the internet do what it does best. People think revenge requires flames and fury. Sometimes it just takes receipts. And here's the part no one saw coming. Nick's younger sister messaged me. Quiet, polite. Said she saw everything online and wanted to know the truth. When I shared it with her, she cut him off, told their parents. His mom called me, crying, apologizing. Apparently, they'd covered for Nick his whole life, cleaned up his messes, never believed he'd go this far. But this time, they couldn't fix it. His family fell apart. His job hung by a thread, and he still had no idea that I had been quietly guiding every unraveling string. Because while he thought I was grieving, I was building the fall. It had been just over 10 months since I left. Quietly, my life had started to grow again. I was learning to exist without looking over my shoulder. I'd gotten a new job, adopted a dog, dyed my hair a darker color. Something about being unrecognizable felt comforting, safe. I still carried the scar of what happened, but it no longer bled. And just when I thought I'd finally slipped away for good, I ran into him. It was a Tuesday morning, fittingly. A quiet bookstore tucked between forgotten buildings. I was browsing nonfiction when I looked up, and there he was, Nick. He looked thinner, older. His clothes felt too big for him, like he had shrunk inside them. Even his eyes, they used to shine with charm, charisma. Now they just looked tired. We locked eyes. I didn't flinch. He walked over slowly, like approaching a ghost. "Hey," he said, a breath escaping like it hurt to speak. His voice cracked. "You look different." "You don't," I replied. The silence after that was heavy, the kind that felt alive. Then, his voice dropped. "Why did you destroy me?" I tilted my head. "You mean, why did you destroy yourself?" He blinked. My calm confused him. Maybe he expected me to be cold or angry, but I'd already burned that part of myself down. What was left was sharper, and somehow more merciful. "I lost everything," he said, voice trembling. "My job, my family, you." "Well," I said, walking past him with my book, "you shouldn't have gambled with things you couldn't afford to lose." I paused when I reached the door. No theatrics. Just one final truth as simple as a whisper. You called it nothing. I just made sure everyone else saw it that way too. When I walked out, I didn't feel triumphant. Revenge isn't always fireworks. Sometimes it's a funeral where you don't show up, because you're already living again. And still, even after everything, I never posted a thing. Never exposed him by name. Never screamed it from the rooftops the way he deserved. Because the best revenge is becoming someone he'll spend the rest of his life realizing he never actually deserved. He created his own collapse. I just handed him the truth and let gravity do the rest. The weight of what he did will follow him like a ghost, not because I cursed him, but because he never thought I had the strength to walk away quietly and never come back. It's strange, the way silence teaches you things words never could. For a long time after it all ended, I didn't tell the full story. Not to friends, not to strangers, not even to myself, really. Because how do you explain that someone you loved, someone you almost built a forever with, shattered you so cleanly that you felt erased? I stayed quiet. People assumed what they wanted. Some thought I had cold feet before the wedding. Others assumed Nick had cheated once and I overreacted. But the truth wasn't about just what he did. It was the way he looked me in the eye days before, kissed my hand, rehearsed our vows, all while knowing what he'd done. That's the part that changed me. Not the cheating, not the lies, but the effort it took to pretend he loved me, while his silence hid 4 strangers. So I created my own silence in return, not out of revenge, not to punish him, but to protect the part of me he couldn't reach anymore, my peace, my sense of self. Eventually, life got brighter again. That took time, and therapy, and journal pages soaked with tears. I met someone new months later. Not a perfect person, but an honest one. A man who doesn't flinch at my vulnerabilities, who doesn't call my intuition too dramatic, or my boundaries overthinking. He knows what I've been through. And he doesn't apologize for what Nick did. He just shows me how it feels to be safe again. But the biggest lesson didn't come from anyone else. It came the day I looked in the mirror and said, out loud, what happened to me was not my fault. But what happens next is my choice. I chose not to let one man define my entire future. I chose not to let my silence become shame. I chose not to burn everything down, even when I had every right to. Instead, I disappeared. He fell, and I rebuilt. Not louder, not bigger, just cleaner. And people still ask me, if you could go back, would you confront him? Would you scream in his face? Tear down his reputation publicly? Maybe, but probably not. Because the truth is, he's still haunted by what I didn't say. The apologies I never demanded. The confrontation I didn't give him the satisfaction of. That's the thing about silence. It makes a person fill in the blanks. And the more guilt they carry, the louder it echoes. If I'd screamed, he could have told himself I was crazy. If I'd dragged him online, he would have painted himself the victim. But I vanished, leaving him to wonder what I knew, and when I knew it, and whether everyone else knew too. So now I'll ask, you, was I wrong to disappear without a word? Or was that the loudest truth he ever deserved? Let me know in the comments.